So as you head into Nebraska, like, let's talk about what that looks like for Michigan. So I expect a lot more of the way they utilized Bryce Underwood against Central. I would expect a lot more of that against Nebraska. Maybe closer to how they used him against New Mexico, with a little bit more freedom to use his legs.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not like Michigan just threw the ball. I mean, they threw the ball very well. This was, play calling wise, a pretty balanced call of running and passing for Michigan.
Underwood still had 100. He had 100 something yards on the ground, but Haynes did too.
Michigan's play call was still very balanced in this game, as it was against New Mexico. So I would guess somewhere in between those two games is the usage that you're going to see for Bryce. Here's how I would talk about the Nebraska setup. There are a couple ways Michigan can win this game, but let's start with Nebraska. A couple ways Nebraska can win this game, because Nebraska is 3-0 right now. But what you need to know about Nebraska is that Nebraska ain't played nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you had asked a Michigan fan in the preseason, we did this. We sat down and said, what games on Michigan's schedule are concerning to you? Oklahoma at Norman would have been the first one circled. At Lincoln should have been the second.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the Ohio State game. I'm kind of taking that out of it here. But I mean, Michigan plays at least three very difficult away games. Oklahoma, and it's every other week, basically. At Oklahoma, at Nebraska, at USC. You'll still have the Michigan State game, Washington coming to Ann Arbor. I've already given you my thoughts on Washington. But like those three games, especially early in the season, in the first half of the season, 3 road games at 3 premier programs, very difficult. This is a massive game for Michigan. So while Nebraska ain't played nobody, Nebraska, even in the preseason, was looked at as, ooh, this is a dangerous football team.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously,
a top 25 team.
And obviously, the number one reason why they're dangerous is they've got Dylan Raiola, right? We talked about the Dylan Raiola factor all last year.
I thought his name was Pat Mahomes.
It's hard to tell the difference sometimes. I mean, and he's
like the picture of The Office. It's the same picture.
Corporate wants you to find the difference. It's the same picture. Now, granted, they have played Cincinnati, Akron, and Houston Christian, which is a real school. But he's also thrown for 800 plus yards, 8 touchdowns, no picks.
Mm-hmm.
What can you learn from that? What can you learn from some of those games? You can learn Dylan Raiola has taken a big jump from freshman year to sophomore year.
Yep.
He's cut down the has he been perfect? No. Because no one is perfect, right? Has he been perfect? No. But he's thrown no picks. That's pretty perfect. 8 touchdowns, 800 plus yards. So that's one major easy analysis reason why Nebraska can win this game, is because they've got their Bryce Underwood, if you will, a year extra into development. Now, I think Bryce is probably better at the end of the day, but Dylan Raiola is a very good quarterback. Michigan's secondary is a little concerning for me at times. There was one play in particular. I was texting my brother about it, where Central Michigan's quarterback, Labus, I think, they used a couple different quarterbacks in the game. He's under pressure, and he just chucks the ball sky high. And Jair Hill is just toasted by his guy and comes back and ends up breaking up the play, but it's because he kind of interferes with the guy. And I'm looking at that going, okay, a better quarterback and a better receiver, that's a big chunk play right there that you just gave up. With the health of Zeke Berry kind of in question mark too, I have some concerns about Michigan's secondary against a quarterback who has been very, very good so far this year. One of the other reasons not related to Dylan Raiola that Nebraska can win this game, this defense is stingy. Now, you've played Akron, you've played Houston Christian, and you've played Cincinnati. However, you play who you play. The defensive line might not be like Oklahoma level, but it's a solid defensive line. The secondary is very talented. This is, again, yes, who have they played? The secondary has the fewest passing yards allowed in the nation, top 10 total defense. Competition notwithstanding, that's pretty good, because there are some other teams who have played very bad teams as well, and Nebraska is still sitting at the top. This was also something we knew going into this season, is that Nebraska's defense is going to be good. So there's 2 reasons for you why Nebraska can win this game. Why can Michigan win? Well, Bryce Underwood would be a big reason why here. Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati had success with his legs against Nebraska. Bryce Underwood is probably better than Brendan Sorsby.
Jury's out, but
Like, that's a critical piece that Michigan finally seems willing to utilize. Nebraska's offensive line is okay. They struggle a bit in the run game, and Michigan is a pretty good running football team. So, I mean, that's kind of like just an overview of like where this team sits. But I'm curious from the Ohio State side, like that's some of what I'm watching heading into this game. I'll give you my prediction here in a minute, but like, what are you looking at from the Ohio State side here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. I think the biggest thing for me, and you already kind of touched on it, the Nebraska offensive line, I think struggles a little bit. And I think one of the strong points for what Michigan has had to offer this year, one of the things that's helped them is, I mean, it's Central Michigan, but they were living in the backfield. They were constantly getting pressure on the quarterback, which is why he had to throw it so jank half the time.
Jayshon Barham, by the way, lining up on the edge.
And that's who I have marked down. Yeah. Is guy's been a dog this season so far. And so I'm looking at that going, he's going to cause havoc. Raiola hasn't had to face that kind of pressure this year. So you can look at the competition and go, well,
You're telling me Akron wasn't having a great pass rush?
That might be what I'm hinting at. So I just don't think Raiola's had the opportunity to go against a team that really is going to be able to get into his face like the Michigan defense. I think you showed glimpses, and I even texted you this, that I think Bryce Underwood is the best Michigan quarterback outside of J.J. McCarthy. And honestly, I think I might even start to make the argument that he will be statistically better than McCarthy by the time he leaves Michigan. But I can't remember a Michigan quarterback that I've watched where I go, oh, he's really talented. You guys have had serviceable guys.
So, and some, yeah, I mean, think about a guy like Wilton Spate. Okay, Wilton Spate.
Chad Henne.
Chad Henne's pretty high up the board for me. Chad Henne, John Navarre, and then even going like some of the older, and again, different era, Elvis Gerbach, right?
Well, I'm talking about since I was alive watching college football, there has never been, even with Denard Robinson. Denard Robinson's one of those guys that at the time like was just statistically a monster. Yeah. But Bryce Underwood feels different than that even.
Yeah, JJ is probably the best quarterback Michigan's ever had.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's recency bias.
And I don't even know if like statistically JJ really blew me away, but I think just like he kind of encapsulated everything that there was for Michigan, you know, like he got the wins, he got the natty, beat Ohio State, like the numbers and all that is what's going to keep him glorified. I feel like Bryce really
talent wise.
Yeah. I feel like just looking at a guy like Bryce Underwood, you can see it where you can go, okay, this is how good he is freshman year. And from an Ohio State fan, this is what you saw with Jeremiah Smith.
Sure.
Where you're looking at Jeremiah Smith and you're going, yeah, I've seen Marvin Harrison come through here. I've seen Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like I've seen all these Hall of Fame Ohio State receivers come through. And I still looked at him and went,
different.
That's different.
Yeah.
And I would say the same about Bryce, where I'm looking at Bryce and I'm going, he is different than any Michigan quarterback I've ever seen. Now, can he continue to develop is the biggest question. Yeah. But I look at this game, and I'm looking at these two quarterbacks, and I feel more confident in the raw talent with Bryce Underwood lining up side by side with that defense that Michigan's going to bring. And I know that crowd in Lincoln's going to be rowdy. They're going to be ready to go. It's going to be hostile to start. I just think Michigan's going to have too much. I think Justice Haynes is going to have a great day. Samaj Morgan, McCauley, I think both of them will have big days. My prediction for this, 27-17, Michigan.
I like that.
I think it actually, I feel like there's probably, because the line has moved so much like recently.
1.5.
It was 1.5 for Michigan, but it was like Saturday, it was 3 for Nebraska. So it's kind of 50-50 up in the air.
It's a coin flip game.
I feel like whenever it's that, you always kind of expect a slow start. I actually think Michigan jumps out to a double-digit lead early.
Man, again, your lips to God's ears, man. I like it. This game, and I shouldn't have to say this, but maybe it's helpful for rival fans or just college football fans who aren't necessarily Michigan fans listening in. I mean, this is a defining week for Michigan's season, right? Like that should.
This is the game.
It should go without saying in one sense, but you know, we made the comparison to 2024, where Michigan gets beat by Texas pretty handily, and the way Michigan lost to Oklahoma was different. But go with me on this: a week 2 loss to an SEC team, and you felt like week 4. it had a big impact. Now in 24, it didn't end up mattering as much. Michigan, and specifically Khalil Mullings, pulls out the win against USC, and Michigan still drops off a cliff until the end of November. I don't expect that to happen in 2025. However, the point still stands, I think, that this is just a massive game for what's the trajectory of this season for Michigan. 2-2, where you've lost both the big games you've played, is just not a good sign, especially when you've got at USC and you've got Washington, you've got a rivalry game, you've got Ohio State. Northwestern is also on the schedule. I'm kidding. But it's going to tell you a lot about this team, and it will tell you a lot also about the growth, both of the players, the coordinators, the coach, the way they utilize Bryce. It'll tell you a lot about where they've grown from Oklahoma to now. You get a bye week after that as well, and then you really start diving into Big Ten play. I have a lot of questions, like I mentioned, about Nebraska's ability to stop the run. They got outrushed 202-110 by Cincinnati. That's their only Power 4 game they've played. They got outrushed by 100 by Cincinnati. Like I mentioned, they had trouble with Brendan Sorsby with using his legs. If Michigan holds true to what Biff Poggi's saying, they utilize Bryce's legs in this game. I have a hard time seeing Nebraska slow down Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall, and Bryce Underwood, while still accounting for the fact that Donovan McCulley and Samaj and Marlon Klein are out there.
I think the thing that makes this game interesting is this is the first week that Sharon Moore can't be a part of the team activity.
Correct.
So last week you saw his game plan kind of be put into place against Central Michigan, but this week he can't have any hand in that.
Correct.
So I'll be curious, and I think you already even talked about it. Like, to me, you're going to see a lot of ground game from Bryce Underwood again.
I think
he's going to be forced to use his legs at times.
You have to, and again, it sounds like Sharon and Poggi and Chip Lindsey and everyone involved in that said, we cannot have what happened. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily Michigan will win the game, but they're saying we can't utilize him the way we utilized him in Norman. The Nebraska rush defense against the Michigan run game, I just think Bryce unlocks another level for Michigan. Michigan's secondary makes me a little nervy about Dylan Raiola. But both these teams I've also noticed create turnovers. Michigan's like +5, Nebraska's +4. I just think that Michigan's got a little bit more. I think Jayshawn Barham is an absolute dog coming off the edge. I think he can force Raiola into a mistake. I've got Michigan 27-20.
We were close.
I think this is a massive game for both these programs. Matt Rhule needs this game. Not because he's on the hot seat, but Matt Rhule needs
a statement victory for them.
That's exactly it, man. It's Georgia Tech beating Clemson, right? It's not like, oh, Michigan's at Clemson. It's not that. But it's that Georgia Tech needed that statement win. Mike Elko and Texas A&M needed that statement win. Matt Rhule needs that statement win. He ain't going to get it. He can go on his little podcast, his little House Rules podcast.
Phenomenal name.
It is a phenomenal name.
Gotta be honest.
Less time podcasting, more time prepping for Bryce Underwood. 27-20 Michigan in this one. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.